Good afternoon, dear viewers. I am Sheikha Tamimi and I welcome you to our continuous special live coverage as we bring you the latest developments from the state of Kuwait amid escalating regional tensions and their potential repercussions across the Gulf and beyond. We begin by condemning the recent attacks that targeted the state of Kuwait using ballistic missiles. Heinous attacks that struck civilian and vital facilities, including Kuwait International Airport, resulting in casualties, critical injuries and damage to critical infrastructure. These attacks have raised serious concerns and prompted a heightened state of vigilance across the country. Meanwhile, the Middle East continues to witness a period of heightened geopolitical and military tensions, with developments unfolding across multiple fronts. In recent days, several Gulf states have reported the interception of missiles and drones within their airspace, underscoring the growing security challenges facing the region and prompting governments to activate precautionary measures aimed at protecting their territories, populations, and strategic assets. Throughout this coverage, we will examine the broader regional and international implications of the current situation, while also highlighting the coordinated response undertaken by Kuwait's institutions to address emerging challenges during this critical period. In addition, we will be joined by a range of political analysts, regional experts, and our international and local correspondents who will provide insights into the evolving developments and help us better understand what they may mean for Kuwait, the Gulf region, and the wider international community. We begin with a quick overview of the latest updates from the state of Kuwait, as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs strongly condemned and denounced the continued Iranian attacks carried out using ballistic missiles and drones, the latest of which occurred at dawn and again targeted civilian and vital facilities, including Kuwait International Airport. In a statement, the ministry said the attacks resulted in the death of one person, injuries to several others, and damages to vital facilities, including diplomatic missions. The ministry reiterated Kuwait's categorical rejection of what it described as blatant Iranian attacks of aggression that contribute to further escalation, heighten regional tensions, undermine security and stability, and constitute a flagrant violation of international law, the United Nations Charter, and UN Security Council Resolution 2817. We also have the Defense Minister Sheikh Abdullah Ali Abdullah Salim al-Sabah, who visited those injured in the attacks on civilian and vital facilities, including Kuwait International Airport, to check on their health and monitor the medical care they are receiving. The Minister of Defense was accompanied during his visit by the Chairman of the General Authority of Civil Aviation, Sheikh Ahmoud Mbarak Ahmoud al-Sabah. Meanwhile, the official spokesperson for the Ministry of Health, Dr. Abdullah Sanad, said that public hospitals have received 63 injury cases so far following the recent incident at Kuwait International Airport. Dr. Sanad stated that the cases were distributed across several hospitals, including 34 cases at Farwaniya Hospital, 17 at Jabir Ahmed Hospital, 5 at Jahra Hospital, 3 at Al Adan Hospital, 2 at Al Amiri Hospital, and 1 case each at Al Sabah Hospital and Mbarak Al Kabir Hospital. He added that 7 cases have undergone urgent major surgical procedures, in addition to several minor surgeries, while medical teams continue to monitor critical cases requiring intensive care or advanced treatment. According to Dr. Sanad, the injuries included civilians, airport workers, and travelers, ranging from shrapnel and blast-related wounds to fractures, head injuries, brain hemorrhages, amputations, and smoke inhalation cases. He noted that emergency and ambulance teams were deployed immediately to the airport after receiving reports, conducting rapid triage and providing urgent care before transferring patients according to medical priority. And now we move on to our reporter at Jabir Al-Ahmed Hospital, Abdulrahman Al-Mhanna, with the latest updates. We'll take a quick break from our reporter and continue with the overview. As the Ministry of Interior announced that as part of its ongoing monitoring of social media platforms, the competent authorities within the ministry apprehended the user of an account on a social media site after observing him filming and posting videos depicting air defenses engaging several missiles. This action constitutes a violation that could harm public interest and security and safety requirements. The ministry emphasized that publishing or sharing any images or videos related to military or security sites or field response and readiness procedures is irresponsible behavior that could harm the public interest. And our last overview, Kuwait Airways announced the resumption of all flights operating from Kuwait International Airport via Terminal 4, T4, following the completion of damage assessments by technical teams and relevant authorities. The airline said the decision comes after the implementation of necessary safety measures to ensure the secure resumption of operations. It added that all services are now returning to normal operations from Terminal 4 in coordination with aviation authorities. Now we'll be taking a quick break, dear viewers, before we are joined in the studio by our guest who possesses a long-standing engagement in regional political affairs.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماما ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق. كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانيا بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
Viewers, we are joined in the studio by retired Colonel Dr. Khalil Mulay Youssef, former advisor for the National Security Bureau with a long-standing engagement in regional political affairs. Welcome back to our show, Dr. Khalil.
Good afternoon.
Well, I want to dive right in and I want to ask, how serious is this attack from a national security perspective, particularly as it directly affected Kuwait International Airport?
As we call it, for our national security, this is an aggression and a truthful aggression also. Our sovereignty is a red line. Any attack crossing our borders, our air or our sea is an aggression. So what's caused that attack? There is a lot of questions. People said why. Last night, Iran been attacked in Qasham Island, down south, far in the Strait of Hormuz, 1,500 kilometers away from Kuwait. But the IRGC decided that the attack took place from Kuwait to Qasham Island, under which mind they are thinking. Part of it, they need it as a message for the internal situation for their people, because the internet is back. They want to show their people we can retaliate. But in reality, they are afraid of targeting who's targeting them, because the ships, the Navy, the airframes is under their eyes there in the Strait of Hormuz. And they know exactly in their intelligence from where they've been attacked. But that question is still serious one. Why the state of Kuwait? There is messages Iran tried to send messages. I can do whatever it takes to control this region. We will dominate this region. And this is a hatred, I can call it. It's been day by day, it's clear now, from Iran to the state of Kuwait.
Now, the Kuwaiti Armed Forces thankfully announced that they had intercepted and destroyed these several hostile drones and missiles. What does this tell us about the readiness and effectiveness of Kuwait's air defense systems, even during the time of relevant calm that we were able to enjoy recently?
Since the start of this aggression in February, our armed forces in a readiness, in a very high readiness, and they will stay like this. They've been trained to do this, and they will never get tired because they are defending their nation, their country, their people, their families. But this is not a surprise. They are ready. Their eyes is open 24/7. The problem is, from time to time, they try to test our readiness. They try to see, are we wake up or we get back to normal? In our civilian life, alhamdulillah, we get back to normal. The armed forces, their mission is to keep the people secure under all the circumstances. In peacetime, yes, the armed forces is released. But in a situation like this, the armed forces is ready. And their readiness, I hope the Iranians will never put a bet on our readiness. Our readiness will stay there 24/7, 365 days a year.
Our armed forces are always,
We are proud of them.
always,
All.
indeed,
Yes.
the state of Kuwait and our dear viewers, we're all proud of our armed forces who are
Alhamdulillah.
working valiantly to keep us safe, even
Yes.
during these times.
Yes.
People are going about their life, enjoying their day-to-day activities as the summer vacation and summer holiday is near, and children
Nepal,
are
yes.
going around, despite some panic that children might go through. It was the responsibility, I will tell our dear viewers once again, it is the responsibility of the parents and caretakers to ensure that these children understand that our valiant soldiers, our valiant armed forces are keeping us safe, and that these loud sounds are a result of the interceptions, the successful interceptions of these heinous attacks. Now, I want to ask, despite the interceptions, sadly, some projectiles appear to have reached airport facilities. How do security experts assess such incidents in modern missile and drone warfare?
In such a situation, especially we are dealing with the unconventional, we call it now, attacks. The missiles is known, very known. The drones has special techniques. Sometimes they flew low level, sometimes they approach from different approaches, not directly from Iran, through another or third nation, exactly through Iraq. But because it's not overwhelming, some people understand it as an overwhelming. This does not exist, not in our situation, not in Kuwait. Because of the nature of that drones. Sometimes it's flew very low level. You deal with them, and there is no chance to keep any airspace in the globe 100% secure. So what's happened last night or even early morning today, we call it the minimal incidents happens, because we've been attacked by, as been announced today, 13 missile, 17 drone. That could cause a lot.
A lot of damage.
But alhamdulillah, because of the readiness, because of the champs in the armed forces, do their job perfectly, I can call it, perfectly. The 1%, it happens in everywhere in the world. It happens. It's not because they miss it, it's because of the nature of that threat. It happens. And especially we are dealing with our airport, which is within the suburbs, the civilian suburbs. And sometimes you take measures. If you fire that drone, the cost will be high. So sometimes you delay your targeting to not hit hospitals or houses.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, Kuwait has traditionally pursued a balanced foreign policy. Could recent developments challenge Kuwait's position as a regional mediator?
I can say no. If we read the what's
Because
been
we have
published from
enjoyed our ironclad,
yes,
peaceful foreign
Yes.
policy for years and years and
and
years.
what we read from the announcement from our foreign ministry today was very wise and very controlled statement. We have the right to defend ourselves, and we've been targeted. The Iranians missed something. The way that Kuwait treated all the aggression is going back hard to the Iranians, because we choose to do our strategic patient very wisely, and the international community is observing what's happening, and they know what's happening. They have their correspondence, they have their citizens within our soil and our land. So they have their reports, the exact report, the right report. And everything is going backfire to Iran now. Diplomatically, they are under pressure when they are doing such crime, I can call it.
Now, how concerned should Kuwait be about becoming caught in a wider regional confrontation between the two parties in this current conflict?
I think our leadership and our government, we can call it, we taken our control measures so far. We had the GCC treaty. If our leadership and our government decide or found we start to become a target, we can initiate our call under the GCC chapter, and then we will not be alone. This will be a GCC defend plan, and then the Iranians will be really facing a big trouble.
Now, what additional measures, I want to go back to the incident that happened at the airport. What additional measures can Kuwait take to protect critical infrastructure such as airports, oil facilities, power stations even, and ports?
As we know, as I know at least from reading and from formation there and there, even under the war itself, under the attacks itself, the people who's responsible to develop and try to read every incident separately is doing their job perfectly. They try to work daily to develop our measures and try to close. If there is any tiny gap, there is no gaps, but we try to develop our tools day by day. And we hear now about new weapons, new systems being involved. So the government is doing that very well.
So are you able to say that since the beginning of the crisis, the government's contingency plans have been well made and well applied?
Even for the crisis management.
Even for the crisis management.
So far, we are doing very well.
Thankfully, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Now, since we're talking about emergency plans, the airport's emergency plan was actually activated immediately. From a crisis management standpoint, how important is coordination between military, security, and civilian authorities during such incidents?
This success comes from the announcement of the National Center for Crisis Management, which has been announced early this year at February. So this is a new body to coordinate all the government and all the involved authorities within the state of Kuwait to manage any crisis takes place. Is it war? Is it electricity? What's the nature of that crisis? That center will be involved and put everyone in that table and take the measures to control that crisis. And I think what's happened today exactly is a result of that. We call it a born center, where they call it Aman now. The team is called Aman. And they are working very deeply together. It's the armed forces, Ministry of Health, and who's involved within the nature of that crisis. So I think it's come very quick. And even the good thing, you just announce it, that the flights come back from Terminal 4. That's a result of really well-arranged plans. We assess our target or what been hit, and we read it all. We make our major assessment. The problem is we try to work for the safety of the people and the travelers. When the measures has all been taken and it's safe, T4 has been open now. And I think even T1, it will take days to fix what's happened, and it will go back again. No one can stop us from live our life.
Inshallah. Now, the Ministry of Interior and the Armed Forces have continuously warned citizens and residents not to approach missile debris. And since the beginning of the crisis, with each missile and drone attack up until this point, what risks do unexploded remnants pose to public safety? Can you elaborate on that to further emphasize on the Ministry of Interior and the Armed Forces statements regarding not approaching these remnants?
The problem is the civilians...
Because the human mind is curious.
The civilians, they don't train to deal with anything very dangerous like this. They think it's a firework, they think it's a fire, but in its nature, it's a rocket. It's a drone. It has explosives. It has electricity. Sometimes it touches the ground with all those things together in place. It needs sometimes a spark to explode. So if you move it from that place, just touch it, it will initiate because of what we call it a civilian mind. Please.
A curious mind.
Those things been announced. Our authorities doing their job very easy, very quick, very highlighted, and all our media, even in the social media, it's there since the beginning of the aggression. So please, a civilian, call 112. It's an easy number. Tell them we saw something there or there. And they will deal with it. They will deal with it. They will take it over. They train to do so. The danger is you put yourself under an unknown incident as a civilian. We don't need to harm our people. So please, that's part of it. The other part, maybe we don't touch it as a question, but it's come with it. The problem is nowadays, the open source intelligence became a very dangerous weapon for the enemy. So please don't be a tool. Don't be a source. Don't take pictures and, okay, you are a civilian, you want to share it with your friends, with your family. Please, not in this time. There is armies around the globe. Their job is just to find what's being published in the open source. We call it open source intelligence. They can assess the targets they targeted, and sometimes they said, oh, we don't touch it, so let's hit it again from this angle. So please don't be a source. Don't be a hand for the enemy or any citizen or anyone in the street. Please, please, this is not your business. Stay safe, live your life, don't get afraid. We used to it now, it's more than 90 days. We used to it. Even the child now, they think it's fireworks. It's okay. Don't be a source for the enemy.
It's a good time, actually, Dr. Khalid, to reiterate this, that as the Ministry of Interior actually had a culprit that actually shared this kind of vital, sensitive information. Dear viewers, I appeal to you once again, do not share any source, any material that relates to these kind of incidents, because in sharing so, you are actually undermining the efforts of our armed forces and our government in its emergency and contingency plans. you don't need to have the latest scoop regarding this kind of information. You will be getting your information from the correct valid sources with just the right amount of information that you would need to reaffirm our safety and our sanctity and our sovereignty. Any extra information would be, just like Dr. Khalid said, would be putting further intelligence into the hands of the other parties. Now, Dr. Khalid, in your assessment, are Gulf countries entering a new phase where drone and missile threats have become a permanent security challenge?
Since the beginning of this crisis, since February, we've been trained for a conventional, we call it wars. Army against army, navy against navy. This is the nature of the armed forces around the globe. And this crisis, yes, we've been trained to do or facing unconventional warfare, like what's happened. But this is not the nature of the wars. The GCC, alhamdulillah, at least for the last 10 or 15 years, part of their training and their efforts to counter the unconventional warfare, which comes the results now. If we don't train for it at the beginning, since the last 10 years or so, we could face a very dangerous situation. But alhamdulillah, because we trained so, not for the conventional wars only, for the unconventional wars. And what's happened now, it's really come under the title of unconventional wars. It's drones, cheap, but it's caused a lot of damage for the infrastructure. The missiles always send the messages. That means we can reach. It cannot do anything. We can reach that place. But the drones is a very dangerous tool. If we saw it in different actions, even in Lebanon, we saw it. In Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. The unconventional tool now became a normal for the Iranians. So I think the GCC armed forces together develop their methods very quickly for the upcoming days and years, inshallah.
Building up on that, how important is intelligence sharing and military coordination among GCC countries in responding to these threats?
Since the establishment of the GCC, and with the nature of our job before I retire, the armed forces within the GCC have a long, far years of working together in all aspects. Training, sharing data, sharing equipment, intelligence, name it. It's there. In this circumstances now, we need to be more related together. We need to open the coordinations higher than what we have. I can say we cannot go more what we have now. We cannot go more than that. I think we are totally 100% sharing everything together, which is good for us. Because one day, if it's going worse, we will fight together. We can defend our nations together. So this is part of our strategy within the GCC armed forces.
Now, do you expect further attacks or retaliatory actions in the coming days, in your experience? And what indicators should security agencies be watching closely?
The problem is we are in a phase of ceasefire. And we call it a controlled crisis because penetrations, it happens there and there. Both parties of the crisis, Iran and the United States, is negotiating each other under pressure. The Americans sometimes hit targets, hit ships, and the Iranians try to do the same. We can't do this. But I think in the end of this phase, within days from now, if they sign the framework, which has been announced last night, they're almost there. If they sign that framework of the agreement. It will take another 60 days or so. But within that frame time, nothing will be allowed to happen. So I think till the signature of the framework, we will see aggressions there or there, in this scale or lower even, because they try to send messages, we are capable, because they are losing their papers everywhere.
Are these messages related to the fact that each party is has actually a conflicting statement regarding these frameworks and these talks?
Yes, yes. The United States had a lot of stocks and leverages to work. The Iranians have nothing to do. They try to use this region.
The Iranians are saying that they're not engaging in any direct talks with the U.S.
It's not a direct talks now. They try the direct talks and it's failed in Pakistan. But what's sure now, they're talking through a third party. And they all agreed that this is the channel and we should do it like this. Okay. And Iranians announced that within days we will send back our reply to the Americans, and the Americans said we send it in a few days. So there is a chance of signing that framework, and all the indications said so. But we should not deny that nothing will happen from now till the signature. We are ready. We are putting plans in place. Our governments, when I said governments, that means all the GCC is aware of what's happening, and we are observing what's happening, and we will protect our nations till the peace treaty comes between the two nations.
Like I stated, and you had reiterated, recent statements from U.S. President Donald Trump suggest that negotiations between both parties may be approaching a significant breakthrough, like you said, particularly regarding a ceasefire extension and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. How likely is a framework agreement between Washington and Tehran in the coming weeks, and what factors will determine its success?
The factors is the priorities for both parties. The United States priority is the nuclear file, and then everything come later. For the Iranians, it's the sanctions and it's the siege. So they will reach a middle ground, inshallah, because to sit in the table and have a direct agreement with different overviews, it's impossible. It's a failure. So I think the idea of framework is a diplomatic solution. We should put all the points together in that framework without priority. And then the teams will sit separately in different files within 60 days, 90 days, whatever will be announced at that time. At the end, they will finalize everything and put everything in priority and what's needed to be extended, and then the signature will come later. The framework, I think, is a very acceptable tool for the two parties, and that's why we hear those announcements now from both parties. As, yes, we are working on this. Yes, we are working on this. And Qatar has been moving now. Turkey been moving now. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is involving very heavy now in that framework. And I think within days it will be signed, inshallah.
Inshallah. Now, dear viewers, we will be taking a quick break, and we will continue our very fruitful discussion with our dear guest here, Colonel Dr. Khalil. Stay tuned.
The U.S. military said it launched self-defense strikes on Iran overnight and shot down ballistic missiles and drones fired at ships and Gulf countries. U.S. Central Command said the strike on Qasem Island in the Strait of Hormuz were in response to attempted attack by Iran across the Middle East. Iran said it had attacked U.S. bases and helicopters in regional countries using missiles and drones in retaliation. CENTCOM said Tehran fired 2 missiles at Kuwait and 3 at Bahrain, all of which broke apart or were intercepted. The latest attacks come amid stalled ceasefire negotiations between the U.S. and Iran after talks on a deal to end the month-long war failed to advance over the weekend. CENTCOM said the strike on Qasem Island had targeted an Iranian military ground control station, and the U.S. military also shot down 3 attack drones that had been launched by Iran towards civilians that were rightfully transiting regional waters. The escalation comes after U.S. President Donald Trump said that Iran really wants to make a deal, and it will be a good one for the U.S. U.S. media reported that Trump had requested edits to a term of a potential peace deal after meeting with senior officials to discuss extending the framework of a ceasefire, the change related to the Strait of Hormuz, and the removal of highly uranium from Iran, as well as a framework to reopen negotiations on Iran's nuclear program.
Dear viewers, welcome back to our continuous live coverage, and with us in the studio is Colonel Dr. Khalil Mullah Yusuf, former advisor at the National Security Bureau. Now, I want to continue asking, related to the report that we just have seen, how have recent regional conflicts affected the pace and direction of U.S.-Iran negotiations?
Everything happened in the region overall, in the Middle East, has been now became heavily involved in negotiation between Iran and the United States. Iran insists of finishing Lebanon file with the agreement with the United States. Iran insists of try to push Gaza's file within that. So Iran try to use all their tools, if they have tools anymore, to make it not just between United States and Iran. No, I'm a regional dominant power. I can sit at the table in high raised head, and I can solve problems. So our message from the state of Kuwait: solve your messages first, solve your problems first, and then solve the problems in the region. Because Iran being part of the chaos in this region, in Yemen, Syria, and Iraq, even in Gaza, even in Lebanon.
Iranian officials have actually emphasized that violations of ceasefires in one arena may impact stability across the region.
And that's the announcement every day from the Iranians. They try to be a hegemon, a regional power, and they talk with the name of the others. Finish your crisis first. No one allow you to be a regional power alone and use your diplomacy to solve everything. This region will solve the problems together. The Middle East, especially the GCC, being involved in solving the Middle East problems since decades. We don't need the help of the aggressors. We will solve, inshallah, all the problems. Solve your problem with the United States. Let this region stable. Let your people, which is more than 90 million citizens, live in harmony, at least, in peace and prosperity. Today morning I read a report talking about inflation rate raised more than 120% since the crisis starts. In 90 days. This number, if any economist sit and tell us what's the story behind it, it's very dangerous. This nation is collapsing. But the problem is, who's taking himself in a place to take decisions every day, he don't think about his citizens. He think about his place, his picture. I can do whatever I need. So.
Now, as the recent attacks of Tehran on its neighboring countries, and for the past 90 days, its political standing has been shifted, actually, in the region specifically, and then internationally. Yes. So how have recent ceasefire negotiations altered the political dynamics between Washington and Tehran?
It will shift it.
It will shift it further.
It will shift it further, because the Iranians day by day try to add more demands. Any crisis, if you want to solve it, keep it in track. Don't add another file to it and try to mix up the whole situation together. We can read who's serious in solving this and who's looking for trouble. So I think this will affect. But there is an administrative in the White House, in the Oval Office. They think United States first. So we need to finish this crisis quickly and turn our page to solve our different problems in the other regions in Europe and Asia. And so the Iranians' case and the American agenda is very tiny small. They will finish it.
Now, Iran's nuclear program remains one of the most contentious issues in its relationship with Iran and in the negotiations that they're going through. What are the current disagreements regarding Iran's uranium enrichment program?
The disagreements, the first stage is moving the enriched uranium to the United States. And this has a big vote from the Iranians. This is no go. This is not good for us. The second thing, they try to keep the program active. And this is a no-go situation for the Americans also. This program has to go back to its beginning as a civilian program. Every nation have the right to develop itself in the research and development methods. Use the nuke for the medical purpose, for the research purposes, but not for the nuke weapons. The Iranians decide and put their mind in place to reach that limit, which is the nuclear weapon. And this administration now in the White House is reading this file seriously this time. Because in the last treaty in 2015, it took 9 years till it's been signed, and another 10 years till now. So it's 19 years, give the Iranians a time frame to develop their program. Their program reached a very high level. So I think for the Americans, this at least should be the stone in the corner of any negotiation. For the Iranians, again, they need money and they need the release of the siege in their ports.
So how do U.S. demands concerning Iran's nuclear activities differ from Iran's own proposals regarding the same issue?
That's why I think comes the idea of the framework or memory of understanding. Let's sign this framework first and then sit together and try to negotiate phase by phase, phase by phase. If we negotiate the nuclear now, we will reach a closed door. So let's put the framework and let the specialists sit together and give the 60 days or 90 days gap to the teamworks, and then we will see what's been solved or not, which is diplomatically accepted. But if you said no from the first day, that's why I think United States agree for that paper. We will discuss everything separately. It will give us the time to breathe and open the strait, give the commerce, the globe commerce, the chance to move again. And then everything will be solved, inshallah.
Now, economic sanctions, as well as the uranium enrichment or the nuclear file, remain a central component of the negotiations and future agreements. What sanctions relief is Iran seeking as part of future agreements?
Iran, since 25 years, been sanctioned every year in their companies, in their assets. In the United States itself, it's more than 100 billion US dollar in assets and in cash. And in some places, almost the same number. And the problem with the sanctions, it's sanctions names. And they cannot move freely and be in position to control the country, like General Ahmed Wahidi. He's sanctioned in all the terrorist papers. They need those names to be removed from the sanctions. And we need our companies to be removed from the sanctions. our airplanes to be removed from the sanctions. And all this will give them the chance to breathe, economically at least, to get the chance to move again. Hopefully this time peacefully.
Hopefully peace does reign freely
Inshallah.
across the region.
Inshallah.
Finally, what message would you send to the Kuwaiti public regarding preparedness, resilience, and confidence in the country's security institutions and the government's emergency and contingency plans?
Our high message, or a very red underlined message: please let the government do their job. Let the authorities do their job. Don't interfere in anything will harm you. Live, enjoy your life. We are in a very peaceful place, and let the champs do their job. This is my last message.
Let the champs do their job.
Yes.
Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Khalid Mullah Youssef, former advisor for the National Security Bureau, I thank you once again for your valuable input.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, dear viewers, we will be taking a quick break before we are back with our reporter, our field reporter at Jaber Al-Ahmed Hospital, Abd Al-Rahman Al-Mhanna. Stay tuned.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماما ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق، كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي، والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانيا بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها للاستجابة للطوارئ والكوارث في ظل الأوضاع الجيوسياسية الحاصلة في المنطقة. جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي تعمل من ضمن منظومة إنسانية متكاملة مع مؤسسات دولة الكويت من حيث الاستجابة السريعة وتجهيز المتطوعين من ضمن أفرقة مختلفة للاستجابة للطوارئ في سرعة قصوى. يعد متطوعين جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي من المتطوعين اللي تم تدريبهم مكثفاً في الإسعافات الأولية والاستجابة للكوارث والاستجابة الميدانية. تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها الميدانية ورفع جاهزيتها من حيث الاستجابة للطوارئ في حالات اللي يتم ندائها. بالنسبة للمخزون الاستراتيجي لجمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي، فإحنا على أتم الاستعداد للاستجابة في حال النداء من قبل مؤسسات حكومة دولة الكويت.
منظومة الاتصالات بالكويت شغالة بكفاءة عالية ولله الحمد، والهيئة العامة للاتصالات وتقنية المعلومات مستعدة لأي طارئ لا قدر الله. في ظل التوترات اللي تمر فيها المنطقة فعلنا خطط الطوارئ وعززنا التعاون مع الجهات المعنية عشان نضمن استقرار الخدمات الرقمية وسرعة الاستجابة لأي مستجد. الوضع تحت المتابعة وكل الجهات المختصة على أتم الجاهزية. عسى الله يحفظ الكويت وأهلها.
بتوجيهات مباشرة ومتابعة حثيثة ومتواصلة من قبل مجلس الوزراء ووزيرة الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتورة أمثال الحويلة، سارعت وزارة الشؤون إلى وضع الخطط المسبقة التي تهدف من خلالها إلى المحافظة على مستويات المخزون الاستراتيجي من السلع المواد الغذائية والاستهلاكية، ولضمان سلاسة وسهولة تدفقها إلى الأسواق التعاونية. قامت وزارة الشؤون ممثلة بقطاع التعاون بتشكيل 6 فرق ميدانية بواقع فريق لكل محافظة، وذلك للمتابعة اليومية للتأكد من كفاية المخزون الاستراتيجي. إن هذا العمل هو ثمرة تنسيق وتخطيط مسبق مع جهات الدولة المختصة التي وضعت لضمان استدامة الأمن الغذائي في مختلف الأوقات، ودامت الكويت بحفظ الله ورعايته.
الإدارة العامة للدفاع المدني على استعداد تام وجاهزية عالية، ونعمل وفق خطط مدروسة ومحدثة باستمرار لمواجهة أي طارئ، ونتابع مع الجهات الحكومية كل ما يخص احتياجاتها لضمان استمرار نظام سير العمل وعجلة الإنتاج وسير الحياة الطبيعية، ونقول للجميع سلامتكم أولويتنا.
في ظل الأوضاع الراهنة معكم اليوم وزارة التجارة والصناعة المعنية في ملف الأمن الغذائي. اليوم نطمنكم بأن الوضع التمويني مستقر تماماً ولا يوجد أي نقص في المواد الغذائية الأساسية. كذلك حركة الأسواق طبيعية والسلع متوفرة في نقاط البيع والمخازن بشكل منتظم. إنتاج المياه في المصانع المحلية مستمر على مدار الساعة لضمان تلبية احتياجات الجميع. سلاسل الإمداد تعمل بشكل طبيعي وسلس ولا توجد أي عوائق في تدفق السلع إلى الأسواق، كما أن الأسواق المركزية وجميع نقاط البيع تعمل بشكل طبيعي، والجمعيات التعاونية تواصل نشاطها المعتاد دون أي تأثير. ونؤكد على الجاهزية الكاملة لخطط الطوارئ مع استمرار فرق الرقابة التجارية في متابعة الأسواق ميدانياً بشكل يومي لضمان استقرار الأسعار وتوفر السلع الأساسية فيها. لذلك اليوم احنا نطمنكم ونبشركم بأن الأمور طيبة إن شاء الله ويحافظ الله.
Welcome back to our continuous live coverage, dear viewers. And now we move on to our reporter at Jaber Al-Ahmed Hospital, Abdurrahman Lamhanna, with the latest updates. Abdurrahman, can you hear me? Good afternoon. Perfect. Can you give us any latest updates from your end for our dear viewers? Abdurrahman, can you give us any updates regarding the situation?
So I can hear you, yes. A very sad evening, viewers. We are currently following a painful and a very sad developing situation here in the state of Kuwait, and I am currently at Jaber Al-Ahmed Hospital at Trauma Bay segment, as we are seeing right now, nearby the rooms as well. And we have updates as the officials have already said, and as Dr. Abdullah Sanad has already assessed that the situation is being handled, as the Ministry of Health has gone into emergency mode and is taking all necessary measures to take care of the patients who have been injured. Now there is about 63 reported injured, and very sadly there is one that has been also dead during the heinous Iranian strikes that took place, and it has been confirmed by official information that one dead during the heinous strikes is from an Indian national. So thus we extend here from the hospital the deepest condolences to his family, and we pray Allah Almighty for the speedy and full recovery to the injured one, for the 60-ish injured ones here. And there is also major critical conditions that had to go into medical operations. We have to mention that as officials have said that about 7 major conditions and medical operations that have taken place, and the others are being of course monitored very properly by the officials and by the doctors, nursing, and of course technicians, all field workers and all workers in the Ministry of Health and staff is into emergency mode since that happened. Now, if we take this in a wider picture, we have to realize that this has been caused by a wider heinous Iranian aggression and strikes that took place hours and hours ago, that targeted Kuwait International Airport once and once again, and we condemn such heinous strikes on Kuwait International Airport that caused damage and injured workers, that injured civilians, that injured vital facilities, and that injured passengers as well. This is a disruption not only to the suspension of flight that taken place, even though authorities has managed to contribute to let flights continue under very strong monitoring, but also this is we have to condemn, because this is a strong rejection of the heinous Iranian strikes that is disrupting the healthy lifestyle, a peaceful lifestyle, a high security, secure country, and non-negotiable security that is and safety of the state of Kuwait. So such security and safety in the state of Kuwait is not weakness. When we say that we are a safety and a secure country, it's not weakness, it's a strength, and it's not negotiable. So that's why we reject all forms of violence, and we reject all the heinous strikes. That's why the cabinet of the Kuwait and the executive has rejected and condemned all forms of heinous Iranian strikes. And Kuwait has the right to also protect its nationals, its people, its land, its territory by or under international law.
Abdulrahman,
I am here to give you more updates if you have any more questions, Sheikha.
Abdulrahman, do you have any specific updates regarding the critical cases that are in the hospital right now? As we know, there are 17 cases that have reached Al Jaber Hospital. Do you have any updates regarding that?
So yes, the latest updates we have is very limited, as officials are telling us. There is, of course, there is mix of reports coming out, but we only follow the reliable information. So thus, we have only we only have to listen to the official information that comes out on the media by the official officials only, and the official ministries only, which is the Ministry of Health, of course. But we know that the patients here are being taken care of very properly, and we know that the major critical cases, which is the 7 ones, the 7 people we mentioned, they have gone under medical operations, and it has hopefully gone properly. And I have seen myself here at the trauma bay that extra care by the staff, by the health staff, by the technicians, by the worker, extra care is taken for the patient, taken for the people coming in and out, for the anybody coming in and out. So I am seeing right now, and I have seen just before I came live with you, the emergency mode that the Ministry of Health has gone into before that. But we also have to say something very clearly. This is a wider picture that has been taking place for a very repetitive period of time. Yes, we have gone into a period where there has been, we are in a state of ceasefire generally at the wider picture, but there is repetitive strikes that has happened, and many people have been affected in the past, and we have seen the state of Kuwait prove that is responsible, prove that is united, prove that is careful in taking every certain measure that protects not only its people, Kuwaiti people, but also its all residents living here, and everybody that would be injured, everybody that would be affected, so whether be it psychologically, whether be it physically, whether be it in any forms, even whether be it economically. The state of Kuwait has proved in the past months, because the war has started on 28th of February, has been proving that it is taking the certain and great feasible measures to protect the Kuwaiti and of course people residing here, and the state of Kuwait. Honestly, we have to mention something here that is very important, Sheikha. To the people that is watching me here at KTV2, this is a very serious and sensitive situation. It is not something that we should transform from serious to media content. Now we are living in a technologically advanced world where there is loads of tools of AI and videos, fake videos spread very quickly. We could see fake videos that include, let's say, footages of air defense interceptions, air defense missiles. All these are prohibited. Even if they were real, do not record air defense missiles. Do not record interceptions. Do not record shrapnel. Do not record any area that is sensitive. Do not record anything that has to do with the heinous aggressions that is happening, or anything that has to do with sensitive area in the state of Kuwait, because it is prohibited by law. That is once. Secondly, I am sure that everybody in the state of Kuwait is here to protect the state of Kuwait. If you want to protect the state of Kuwait, you have to abide by law. You have to fight the AI tools that is being used the bad way to increase panic in the state of Kuwait, to spread confusion in the state of Kuwait, and of course to give the enemy a better privilege, and this is something we don't want. When you record videos, you are causing panic, you are causing confusions, and you are giving the enemy a privilege. Do you want that? I don't think so. So don't do that, because you are going to face legal consequences, and you are going to cause the state of Kuwait to be in a more harm state. And this is something we as Kuwaiti citizens and government, we reject, and we will stand against. That's why you have to live as a collective society and stand united and work collectively with the government and abide by the measures to at least move in a more peaceful manner, and be able to at least take the certain measures to move forward as the situation is developing, because the situation is still developing between the US and the heinous Iranian that is happening still. So we have to be very careful with the measures we take. We have to be very careful with our attitudes, and we have to be very careful with the words we say on social media. Everybody has to be careful, because we represent the state of Kuwait, and the wise leadership that we have. The government is the only one here in the state of Kuwait that knows what they can do with the heinous aggression and with the current situation. So that's why we have to put this trust in them, and we have to stay out of this and abide by what they say.
Exactly, Abdulrahman. Our vigilance in our reporting, in our live coverage, in our news bulletins in both Arabic and English languages are all at the disposal of our dear viewers as well as listeners to have their information from verified sources, despite the well intentions or curious intentions of anyone since the beginning of the crisis on February up until now. Like you said, like my guest at the studio had said, like previous guests have stated, as well as relevant authorities, sharing these kind of informations does more damage than good. It always does more damage than good. Now, before I let you go, I want to ask you a question so I can give further relief to our dear viewers. Now, despite the fact that the Jabr Hospital, that workers and doctors, nurses and medical staff at Jabr Hospital are dealing with the critical cases from the airport incident, how is the atmosphere regarding the regular emergency room as well as the clinics and the overall atmosphere? Can you talk about the normalcy in the hospital?
Yes, as we mentioned, in terms of the yes, as we mentioned earlier, that the Ministry of Health has gone into emergency mode, and we mentioned that extra care has been taken through to the patient and is being put throughout the hospital, and of course throughout the state of Kuwait. I'll touch upon that in a bit. The general atmosphere, as you are seeing now, it's very calm. There's no panic. Now, one might wonder, when they go on social media, one might wonder that they're going to find panic atmosphere and confusions and stuff like that. But we have proved the past months that we can not only control the media in a positive way, of course, but we can also spread calmness when, let's say, tensions rise. Because now, as you're seeing, we have injured people right here. But at the same time, the doctors have taken extra care since the beginning of the heinous strikes, the early hours of the day. Now, because they took extra care and because they took the certain measures, the right measures at the hospitals and the right protective measures, there is a certain unlimited movement to certain people. We don't see panic, we don't see confusions, we don't even see any shouting that would even cause, let's say, more panic to the injured ones. So there is calmness, there is a good atmosphere, not only to the people that is right here, like me and my colleagues. There's also a good atmosphere, like officials who come and go to the hospitals, and a calm atmosphere generally for the people who are watching right now. That is, yes, we are going through a difficult time and a painful difficult time, which we will go through very peacefully, I am sure of that. But at the same time, we have to say, as you are seeing right now, I am in the middle of the trauma bay, but it is calm, and the doctors are putting the much effort to keep such calmness, because this is not only their job, but this is a humanitarian job that comes above such an economic job, for example, or let's say a 9-to-5 job. This is a humanitarian job that has to be done, not only for the humanity, but for the state of Kuwait generally, and for humanity.
Abdulrahman Al-Mhanna, I thank you very much for your very in-depth reporting from in the middle of the thankfully calm and serene trauma bay. We pray for the swift recovery of our injured, and we pray for further strength and safety for our dear medical staff, for our armed forces, as well as obviously for the entire state of Kuwait, its people, its wise leadership, and so on. Abdulrahman Al-Mhanna, we thank you for your valuable input. Now, dear viewers, I will let you go, but before I will let Abdulrahman go, but before I let you, dear viewers, go, here's a quick report on how the general impact of the current regional conflict that has been entering its almost 90 days have dealt with the economy, such as Wall Street, stocks, international stocks, gold and oil, and as such.
The ongoing conflict has highlighted the extent to which the Middle East remains deeply embedded in global supply chains far beyond its traditional role as an energy hub. While attention has largely focused on oil and gas markets, the longer-term consequences of the conflict are increasingly being felt across food systems, water security networks, transportation corridors, and industrial production chains. Even if active hostilities were to subside, the structural disruptions caused by damaged infrastructure, production interruptions, and heightened geopolitical tensions are expected to persist for years, preventing a return to normal economic activity and creating lasting challenges for both regional and global stability. One of the most significant consequences has been the disruption of key industrial supply chains. The Middle East is a major supplier of essential petrochemical derivatives and industrial inputs. The materials are critical to sectors ranging from textiles and plastic manufacturing to semiconductor production and mineral processing. Production interruptions at major facilities have created bottlenecks that continue to reverberate through international markets. As shortages persist, manufacturers worldwide face rising costs, delayed production schedules, and increasing pressure on profit margins. These disruptions are contributing to inflationary pressure, forcing governments and corporations to reassess investments priorities, supply strategies, and industrial planning. Maritime transportation has emerged as another major casualty of the conflict. Continued security risks in strategic waterways, particularly around the Strait of Hormuz, have increased shipping costs through higher insurance premiums, longer alternative routes, and elevated fuel expenses. Freight rates have risen significantly as shipping companies attempt to manage growth operational risks. The resulting increase in transportation costs affect the prices of countless commodities, from food and agricultural products to manufactured goods and industrial equipment. Businesses now face greater uncertainty regarding trade flows, while concerns over sanctions and regional instability continue to discourage investments and complicate international commerce. Aviation sectors also suffered considerable disruptions. Attacks on regional infrastructure and airspace restrictions have reduced passenger traffic and air freight capacity, particularly affecting trade links between Europe, Asia, and the Gulf region. Reduced availability of jet fuel and rising war risk insurance costs have increased operating expenses for airlines, costs that are ultimately passed on to consumers. Higher travel costs and reduced connectivity threaten tourism revenues and weaken broader economic activity across the region. Food security represents one of the most serious humanitarian dimensions of the crisis. Gulf countries account for a substantial share of global fertilizer exports, including urea and ammonia. Disruptions to these exports have raised fertilizer prices worldwide, particularly affecting developing economies that depend heavily on imported agriculture inputs. Countries such as India face mounting challenges in securing sufficient supply for critical planting season, while many African nations risk declining agricultural productivity due to higher production costs. Even if trade routes fully reopen, planting decisions and seasonal agricultural cycles have already been disrupted, increasing the likelihood of future food shortages and higher global food prices. Within the Middle East and North Africa, the impact is uneven. Certain Gulf states possess strategic reserves, financial resources, and alternative logistical routes that help cushion immediate shortages. However, many neighboring countries lack similar capacities and remain vulnerable to rising food costs, damaged infrastructure, and disrupted supply networks. Existing humanitarian crises in several parts of the region are therefore likely to worsen as food insecurity intensifies. Water security has become an increasingly important concern. Several countries in the region rely heavily on desalination plants for drinking water supplies, making water infrastructure a critical national asset. Damage to water facilities, combined with concerns about contamination from military operations, has exposed vulnerabilities that extend beyond traditional security considerations, as water scarcity already poses a significant challenge across much of the Middle East. Any prolonged disruption could have severe consequences for public health, agriculture, and economic activity. The cumulative effect of these pressures extend far beyond immediate wartime losses. Rising inflation, declining household incomes, food insecurity, and disruptions to essential services threaten human security on a broad scale. Millions of people could face increased poverty, while governments may be forced to divert resources from development programs towards defense and emergency response measures. The conflict demonstrates that resilience in food, water, and economic systems is now as important as traditional military preparedness. Investments in diversified supply chains, strategic reserves, alternative trade routes, and regional cooperation will be essential to reducing vulnerability and ensuring a long term stability in an increasingly uncertain geopolitical environment.
You are still tuned in to our special live coverage regarding the latest updates in Kuwait and as well as the situation that is happening in and around the region. We now turn to Washington to gain further perspective from the United States of America with Abdulrahman Yusuf, a journalist specializing in American affairs. Abdulrahman, welcome to our show once again. We value your input.
Thank you for having me, and thank you. I'm being with you.
I want to ask, Iran has accused the United States of violating the ceasefire through strikes on Iranian targets. In your opinion, how serious are these allegations and how might Washington respond?
Yeah, at the beginning, I wanna show my solidarity with the Kuwaiti people and with all Kuwait. I have been in Kuwait in 2014 for a training journalism purpose, and I show how Kuwaiti people are generous and are welcome and homey people, and therefore I just want to show my solidarity and emphasize that there is no anything justifying attacking infrastructure or civilian matters or anything else in Kuwait, regardless the war or tension in the Middle East. So this is something not justifying, and
لا لا لأنه
as
صوتها
we
وايد
say,
عالي.
yeah, as I been there, I want to just emphasize that my thoughts with you as a people. This is a beginning point as a human mandatory human point at the beginning. Going back to the this escalation against against Gulf states and all this escalation tension between USA and the CETCOM. We saw last 3 days that there are many journalists or like many statements from the CETCOM that they were against or defended many drones and plastic missiles launched from Iran. And this is the risk all the diplomacy engagement that is going to happen right now, specifically that we saw that for a long time, Iran used plastic missiles, not only some small rockets here and there or some small drones. According to the CETCOM yesterday, they launched plastic missiles against Bahrain and Kuwait, but the CETCOM and Kuwait and Bahrain, they defended themselves and they prevented huge destruction or huge damage in both sides. And we saw as well in the same statement from CETCOM that Iran launched some drones, suicidal drones against some trade or commercial ship. And this is in terms, it comes in context of trying to blockade the Strait of Hormuz from Iranian end. So all of that seen as escalation and high risk for this diplomacy. And we saw two discourse, USA said that Donald Trump specifically said that there is a still engagement, diplomacy engagement, and there is a communication between Iran and USA, but Iran said no, there is no connection or there is no communication last 3 days, which means that we see kind of freezing of this diplomacy engagement. Donald Trump today he had an interview with New York Post, and Marco Rubio yesterday had a hearing in Senate and the Congress, and both said this that happened because the Iranian regime, they don't have one opinion. We saw two wings in Iran, and they discuss and negotiate between each others, and they took long time to find the find a right answer or right response between the far right wing and the new diplomacy. And even Marco Rubio said if those people that we saw in the TV, the wearing suits, they have the final decision, we would have reached the agreement. But unfortunately, and I quote him, they must go back to the IRCG and other top leaders in the far right wing to make a decision. And this, of course, all of that delaying the final sign on the memorandum of understanding. And of course, when we have this delaying and we have this escalation, that means that for any reason, even a small reason, we can find big flame, and we maybe find an escalation that we can't contain anymore.
Now, the U.S. military says its actions were purely defensive. Is there any risk that these incidents could unravel the fragile ceasefire?
Yeah, of course. This is as you said, it's fragile ceasefire, and of course, this could turn into a wider attack. We saw, as I said, Iran at the beginning used some drones, used some rockets here and there, but when they start to launch plastic missiles and wider their attacks to
Dear viewers, we'll be taking a quick break and we'll be back.
تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها للاستجابة للطوارئ والكوارث في ظل الأوضاع الجيوسياسية الحاصلة في المنطقة. جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي تعمل من ضمن منظومة إنسانية متكاملة مع مؤسسات دولة الكويت من حيث الاستجابة السريعة وتجهيز المتطوعين من ضمن أفرقة مختلفة للاستجابة للطوارئ في سرعة قصوى. يعد متطوعين جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي من المتطوعين اللي تم تدريبهم مكثفاً في الإسعافات الأولية والاستجابة للكوارث والاستجابة الميدانية. تؤكد جمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي جاهزيتها الميدانية ورفع جاهزيتها من حيث الاستجابة للطوارئ في حالات اللي يتم ندائها. بالنسبة للمخزون الاستراتيجي لجمعية الهلال الأحمر الكويتي، فإحنا على أتم الاستعداد للاستجابة في حال النداء من قبل مؤسسات حكومة دولة الكويت.
Dear viewers, we are still joined via Zoom with Abdulrahman Youssef, a journalist specializing in American affairs from Washington. Abdulrahman, I want to move on and I want to ask, President Trump reportedly requested changes to the framework of a potential peace agreement. What do we know about Washington's current negotiation strategies?
Donald Trump and Washington strategy is simply to keep the blockade and like this loaded sanction on Iran, so they can weaken Iran without going further for widened war or like increasing like the potential of global war or like more regional war. They need to use a soft power tools like sanctions, and in main vein, they try to put some pressure as well on Iran in terms of time. Donald Trump said, and Mark Rubio, they both said that Iran is losing like around like $500 million daily, and they can't export their oil. And in same vein, they need as well to force Iran to like give up some conditions, some unrealistic condition from their ends, and they need to do step by step. Like if they want like USA left or remove this sanction, they must like open the Strait of Hormuz, and if they want like to like get some of their freezing money, like they must like give some point in nuclear weapon and in high enrichment uranium. So the strategy is step by step, and using the economic tools, economic weapon, if we could say, instead of widen the war. And as well, they wanted, like in their like strategy, to have a written agreement under the like United Nation observation that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon and they will not enrich their uranium. They don't need any just oral promises. They need something documented. And that Donald Trump said it yesterday to ABS. So like now the strategy is not to widen the war and they keep the blockade and and load the sanction and find a final deal documented, not just like some theoretical or like oral promises from Iran.
Now, there were recent missile and drone strikes on the state of Kuwait that resulted in over 60 injuries with critical cases. How concerned is the U.S. administration about the recent missile and drone attacks in the Gulf, as it's also included the Kingdom of Bahrain?
Yeah, like of course, like Iran is they play like kind of like resemble brinkmanship, and like they go to the edge for everything. They try to terrifying every other state in the Gulf. It's like they use the strategy of using Gulf states as a hostage, but this is the high risk because they might lose their according to their narrative. They might lose any solidarity from any one seeing that they under attack from the USA. So like they risk their narrative, plus they risk that give a right for every other country to respond in terms of defend themselves. And of course, they try to put pressure on time of Donald Trump. Like they wanna show that they can expand this war. Of course, this war is like got a high cost against them, but they want to go to the edge and using this friendship brinkmanship like a strategy. And of course that like risk their all requests of getting some money, some this free money, or some kind of any support they want to have from other countries. So I think like Iran is doing a very wrong strategy in terms of attacking their neighbors or attacking infrastructure and hurt civilian in these countries, and like they start to lose their narrative in terms of defending themselves, because it's not against USA like weapons or USA military infrastructure. It's against a human being and against civilian matters, and of course that will like not help them to reach any good deal. And everyone in the future will want to have like in the region, they want to have like some guaranteed or some like some strong strong position against any potential hostile attack from Iran.
Now, despite ongoing tensions and somewhat contradictory statements, both Washington and Tehran continue to signal interest in negotiations. Are we seeing genuine diplomacy or simple efforts to avoid a broader war?
Now, like 1 week ago,
now,
yes, we try. Yeah. Well, like 1 week ago, we could say like try to have like a genuine diplomacy, but now we see just like trying to avoid a wider war or regional war because like everything is freezing now, like and this negotiation is happening under fire. So like and it's very fragile right now. And Donald Trump said like we might see sign like this memorandum of understanding. We might see like a sign of it like next week. But so far, there is no any indication or signal that we will reach this point. So what we see now is just like some strategy from mediators and from US and Iran to not widen the war, but no one knows how they will stop it, even themselves. Like it seems that both parties, like Iran and the USA, they don't know exactly what is the breaking through point to sign this memorandum. So like starting from yesterday, I'm saying like they try to avoid any like regional war or like widen this war. And it doesn't seem it's like a genuine diplomacy right now.
Now, how much influence do regional actors have over the success or failure of the current diplomatic process?
Like they must or they should have a high impact, but like Iran and USA, as they are controlled from right wings, it seems they are stubborn or like they don't listen to anyone else. Like they had many chance to make a breakthrough to like ease this tension, at least by opening Strait of Hormuz from both sides and go for negotiation for like the things between themselves, like a nuclear weapon program. Or plastic missiles or something like that. But like now we see like the regional countries, specifically Gulf states, they try to do their best, try to push for extending the ceasefire, trying to find a reasonable or rational solution. But it doesn't seem that Iran and USA are listening carefully to them. Yes, they maybe take them in consideration here and there, but like unfortunately, still the right wing in two sides are like have they wanted to find like a victory victory scene for themselves. They try to see that our narrative won, and they don't care so much so now by or this reasonable rational solution that mediators such as Gulf states or Turkey or like Pakistan try to push forward. So I think they should have impact more than that. But of course, like they must find a party to listen or like to receive their message. But like the parties, like the two parties, they seem like they don't listen well for this reasonable or rational solution.
Now, markets appear relatively resilient despite the security tensions and the uncertainty still that shrouds the situation. Does this suggest investors believe the conflict will remain contained?
Yes, because like both parties, they don't, as I said, like it's very obviously they don't want to go back to the war, but they don't want to end the war, like, or the conflict, if we need to use like more abstract word. Like they don't need to end this conflict soon. Everyone tried to push for the more benefits, more like gaining some points in this conflict, and it seems like no one can done this conflict in one strike. So yes, like it's obviously they believe that this war so far, two parties they try to, like Iran and the USA, try to avoid it. Plus that every day we see some like a positive, optimistic discourse that gives hope. But again, as I said, practically we saw the escalation has been happened like every day. So it's like still 50-50. Like I have been here on the show, I'm saying, keep saying 50-50 because we don't see like a real breaking through. We can see we have a real breaking through when we see this sign, like this sign for signing for this memorandum of understanding. It will not end the war, but will give a strong signals and strong indication that they are really want to set to finalize like the deal about the main point, which is the nuclear program, nuclear Iranian nuclear program, and they don't want to use a Strait of Hormuz or a security of Gulf states as a card. Like they will give like the Gulf states some of ease, and they go to deal their like own business or like bad conflict on the table. Therefore, we still have this 50-50, and but this positive, like from time to time, this positive optimistic discourse, plus extending this like ceasefire or real war ceasefire, it gives the market hope, and we see this resilience. Plus that Gulf states, they still do a great strategy work for their people for try avoiding any risk of like food or energy or supply and everything, so that as well give some hope or rest assure the investor that like Gulf state, they have a good strategy for contain any consequences of this war.
What indicators should we watch in the coming days to determine whether the ceasefire is holding or beginning to collapse?
Two things: Iran to go back for the rational behavior by stopping attacking the Gulf states, or wider their attack, or using like plastic missiles. And the USA is like to be able to be more flexible for going to sign this memorandum of understanding. In this moment, we can see like some more rest assured or like a real signal or a real indication that this war, it might be end even if after 2 months or 3 months.
Abdulrahman Youssef, journalist specializing in American affairs from Washington in the United States. I thank you once again for your valuable input.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Finally, dear viewers, I would like to remind you once again that in times of crisis and regional tensions, maintaining stability is not limited to official institutions alone, but extends to the awareness of the entire community. Citizens and residents alike form an essential part of the security and stability system through their adherence to official directives and their responsible handling of information. With the rapid spread of social media, rumors become one of the most serious challenges facing societies in such circumstances, as inaccurate information can contribute to anxiety or exaggerate events beyond their true scope. This underscores the importance of obtaining news from official and reliable sources and refraining from sharing any unverified information. Community awareness, adherence to instructions, and responsible handling of information are fundamental factors that strengthen trust, maintain stability, and support the state's efforts in crisis management. Once again, we thank our dear guests in the studio and our correspondent and our Zoom call for their valuable input. And I thank you, dear viewers, for joining in. Now stay safe and take care.